Hello everyone, my name is Xenia, and today I'm here with Aron Haddad, also known as Aaron Stevens, and formerly known as Damien Sandow, known globally to wrestling fans and beyond. You had your iconic WWE run, now you are currently with NWA, and you've showcased your talents as a wrestler and as a manager all around the world. But also, as some people maybe don't know, and we're going to dive into it, you also devote a lot of your life to passing on the knowledge that you have and teaching the new generation of wrestlers. So excited to dive into that, but thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is fun.
Excited to dive in because I feel like there's not a lot about you out there on the internet. I feel like you're a mystery to a lot of the wrestling fans.
Well, that was by design, but what can I say? We're going to just be an open book in this interview. No, it's I've always kind of like valued my privacy, I guess.
Right.
And you know, with the way the world's going, and we were talking at a show one time, and yeah, just let people know you a little better. So this is cool. This is something I'm looking forward to.
We're going to peel back the curtain today.
Yes.
And I actually do want to start at the very start. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I was born in a town called North Oxford, Massachusetts. That's where I kind of grew up, and family's all there and everything. Just very kind of New England, small town. I was blessed, like I said, big family, and just fun. You know what I mean? It was a fun place to grow up. I just spent a month back there for the holidays, so that was a lot of fun. And it's just seemingly normal. And meeting me now at this stage of my life, that would probably shock a lot of people. But no, I had a fairly normal childhood. As far as my involvement in wrestling, I remember I wanted nothing to do with wrestling until I was about 5, and I was in line at a department store with my mom, and they had those old school arcade games that you used to play, and there was a couple of them, and one of them was wrestling, so I apparently behaved myself. I got a quarter, put it in. I remember I had to stand on a stool. It's weird, this vivid memory, and it was a tag team wrestling game, I think, and I lost because I was 5. I didn't know, I didn't even know what a joystick was. But I remember the guy taunting me after I lost, and I became incensed, and then just said I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And my father was a police officer. He actually just retired a few years ago. He had 44 years on the force, which is, God, I have no idea how he did it. But his partner at the time was a pro wrestler by the name of Primo Manzello. And he would be in the WWE, and he'd had matches, 6'8", like 400 pounds. He was trained by Killer Kowalski. And I remember saying, like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And, of course, everyone thought it was a phase. But as the years went on, I managed to get accepted to Killer Kowalski School, which just happened to be in Massachusetts. It was about, I'd say, a little over an hour from where I grew up. And it was in Boston, or north of Boston, rather, in Malden. So I met Killer at a show, and he said, yeah, just come by. So came by. I was with my other friend and his dad, actually, and my other friend's dad and my dad were best friends, so it was kind of cool. It was funny. And I ended up saying, okay, I'm gonna do this. And he ended up doing music, but no, just got in there at 16. I was the only 16-year-old at the time. So that was interesting, because this was 1998. Cool. And the wrestling business, and I've said this before in interviews, right, where today it's like a public pool, right? Everyone can cover it, and that's not bad. I'm not like saying anything disparaging towards it, but anyone can get in. And back then, it was like a secret society. Like, you had to get lucky, get in, someone agrees to train you, and then there's this like arduous, vetting process, shall we say. But no, at 16, I was in there with grown men, and it was weird because in high school, I went to a Catholic high school, and I was kind of like one of the bigger guys. Like, physically, I was kind of like a stud, right? Comparatively to other people my age. But then, like, you go into that world, and it's like, oh my God, I am a twig, and there's all these adults and you just, you get a perspective on things. So I always say, like, positive about training at 16. It was, a head start, shall we say. And I was also trained properly at a reputable wrestling school, which I don't know if we're going to get into that, but oh Lord, don't get me started.
For sure.
But it made me grow up fast because the business was different back then. It was far more guarded. It was protected. And, you know, socially, I really kind of learned more about human beings and how to deal with them. And as a result, you know, I was able to kind of like mature faster than a lot of my friends in some respects. And in other respects, you know, I still haven't grown up. So there's like that whole thing. But no, it was really good. I was very, very fortunate. And I really wouldn't have changed anything.
Do you remember the very first day that you came into training for the first time?
Yes.
How did it feel? Was it scary?
Yes, it was in February. This is excellent water, by the way.
Branded.
Look at this. It's all about brand. Yes, you're a genius at this. But no, I do. It was a snowstorm, and I drove there. I was with my father because it was before I had my learner's permit. I didn't even have my license. That's how young I was. And I remember walking up the old Kowalski staircase. Like you'd go in. It was at Pleasant Street in Malden, and you'd go in. There was one flight of stairs, then a little level, then there was another flight of stairs, but there was a little bathroom. And as I was walking up the stairs with my father, Killer was there relieving himself in the bathroom. And so that was just kind of funny. But then as we get up, we're sitting and waiting to kind of get in and open the door. And Killer comes up the stairs and he's like, all right, let's go. And told me how to lock. I'll never forget, he told me how to lock up, the hammer lock my first day. And before, you used to have to kind of earn the right to get in the ring. And he was like, you know what? He goes, it's about a month before you get in there, but I'm going to make an exception in your case. And then he told me how to do a drop kick my first day. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, so he was just so good to me. So good to me. And I was so fortunate. And someone else I would be remiss to not mention is Mike Hollow, who was Killer's head trainer. And Mike runs a camp. It's called Elite. It's up in New Hampshire. I visited it recently. And just kind of did a little promo class, and you know, it's a WWE ID school, but it's rightfully so because, again, you know, you look at the lineage where, you know, Mike learned from Killer, and Mike has done things. You know, Mike has been to WrestleMania and just been in the business and learned the right way, and so to have Mike pass that knowledge on, and you see it in his students too, how they're understanding of the fact that, like, the lessons they learn there, they can apply to real life, and Mike's just really good at that. And you know, again, I cannot recommend his school enough. If you're in the Northeast, or even if you're not in the Northeast, that's a place, if you're looking to get into pro wrestling, definitely do it, because that is the direct lineage from Kowalski, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you come into wrestling so young, and also at the time where, like you said, it was way more of a closed society with, I assume, strict rules and very, at times, difficult locker rooms to be in. Was there any moment when you were younger getting into this that you wanted to quit, that you wanted to...
No.
No?
I there have been times I've been scared to death. You know, when I first started, again, this is just luck, like dumb luck, as we say. But so ironically enough, my first time in a ring was a battle royal for a fundraiser. And so that was just kind of cool. I remember I got my boots and my gear for that. Then my first match, it was for NWA New England. I wrestled a guy named Knuckles Nelson and Gino Martino. I had 2 matches. It was a TV taping. And I just kind of, you know, I was enhancement talent. Because I was about, just turned 17 maybe. I just turned 17. But then after that, and this is just like, again, just dumb luck, a guy by the name of Fred Sparta, who was a referee for WWF at the time, now WWE, of course. And he saw me and started talking to Killer and stuff, and, like, you know, you're young, but this and that, and why don't you come to the show? And that was the promotion. It was called WWA. WWA. That was where everyone wanted to go, because at the time you had like Edge, Christian, Val Venus, Test, like they were all at the training camp in Connecticut, the Funkin' Dojo, which was the precursor to developmental, and they would do shows on the weekends. So like the craziest thing, when I was a senior in high school, like I remember on like Friday, a nun would be telling me to tuck my shirt in and, you know, whatever. And that would be in the morning, and at night, like I was on shows with like Val Venus, who was huge at the time, Edge, who would, you know, him and Christian had just come out, Goldust. It was like all these people, and so what it did, initially you're starstruck to a degree, but I tell you what, by the time I'll say like halfway through my freshman year of college, I was like wasn't starstruck at all, because I'm like, not only have I met some of the people that I really idolize and look up to the most, but they've also like swung steel chairs at me and I had to duck. So like it's really just interesting how that all works out. And again, we say like you mature faster in some ways, kind of having the experience that I had, and that was one of them, to where like, no, I'll talk to anybody, work with anybody. I don't get really shook that much.
Yeah. And talking about being or not being starstruck, when you were younger, when you were just starting, did you have a favorite wrestler? Was there anyone that you looked at and went, I want to be like them?
Loved Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Absolutely, like he was my guy, because I love martial arts too, right? So it's like, oh, karate and wrestling, it's perfect. A Hogan guy, I was a big Hogan guy. Because again, you look at the time where growing up in the 80s, and I grew up in the 90s too. I grew up, but like the 80s, I remember the 80s vividly, and there was no bigger star than Hulk Hogan. I mean, like Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, like that whole era, like these iconic figures of the 80s. And Hogan was the face of wrestling, whether we want to believe it or not. Like that was it. And it just really kind of like took the whole, I'd say the country, but it took the world over, because we see, the global juggernaut that the WWE has turned into today, and that wouldn't have happened had we not had the initial boom in the 80s.
That's true. And you mentioned how you had to combine wrestling in your life with school first and then with college. So, by the way, what did you study in college?
I was an urban studies major, which is a combination of like political science and BS.
I was going to say before you added the BS part that you are currently using your degree also.
Kind of.
Because we know that you're featured on Fox a lot, and you actually started a new segment just recently.
Yeah, on Outkick. So that was cool. It's the Excited States of America, where I'm just looking at news stories, and I like to say we can look at stories and then see what we can learn from them, because there are a lot of amazing stories, a lot of which happen right here in Florida, actually.
For the Florida man.
Florida man, that's right, yeah. But no, I just think, with the way the world is today too, like what makes wrestling so cool, and this is something that we need today. I truly feel we need today, where we live in a society where everything, it's so bifurcated, right? Which is like you're either on this side or that side, or like, no, like we're all on the same team, and I think the fact that what makes us human, we laugh, we cry, we express joy, we express sadness, this whole spectrum of life, right? And we're all trying to do the best we can, and just some time for us to go smile, cheer the good, I don't want to offend any of the ladies, so I cheer the baby faces, boo the heels, or vice versa, or whatever you want to do. But it's just that escape, because wrestling, I think, has always it's followed a kind of trajectory to where society is, right? Like we look at Austin in the late 90s, who was the anti-hero, as opposed to Hogan in the 80s, right? But again, you look at the audience members and their reactions, they were all smiling, they were all cheering, and they're just lit up. And that's what it is. And I tell a lot of the kids at NWA this, where when you put your matches together, yes, moves are an essential part of the match. And the way the business is today, right, athletically, we have never, ever seen the heights that we've seen. There are so many amazing athletic talents. It's creating moments is what you want, though. It's not about moves, it's about moments, right? And we have these moments that are kind of etched in our memory, right? Like the time when Austin won the title the first time, or whatever, when he drove the Zamboni to the ring, right? Rock and Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania face to face. I'll go back even further, Hogan and Andre face to face at WrestleMania 3, right? We have these images burned in our mind, right? And they kind of just conjure up these feelings. And as a wrestler, a talent, that's what we want to do. We want to create those moments for people so they remember us. And that's ultimately what will get you to be over, specifically, because that's the only thing in the industry. That's another thing, we said we are going to talk about my stuff at NWA, but when I talk to talent there, I look at this industry very differently, in the sense of when I put a match together, I don't care about what's going on in the match. I care about what's going on in the audience. And then the moves and the psychology, that all follows. Like someone asked me, like, oh, how can you put something together that quick? It's just think about the people, right? It's not about the people inside the ring. It's about the people outside the ring. And as a wrestler, we need to be so proficient in the basics, because that is the difference between pros and everyone else. Pros are brilliant at the basics, not good. And here's what I mean by that. Brilliant is when you're on live TV and the top rope breaks, you keep going, don't miss a beat. And it still makes sense. You still have the psychology. Everything looks believable. And it adds to the show. When you're able to take something and that something wasn't supposed to happen, right? People would perceive it's a variable. Like one time I was at a show, a top rope broke, and this dude was complaining about, oh, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. Well, you know what else you couldn't do is get over, because that sucked. No, but it's true, right? Like, if something like that happens, right, that's when magic happens. When we have these moments of spontaneity, right, whatever it is, we have to be able to just adjust on a dime and still give out a performance that is at a standard or higher than what the company's demanding, right? Or what we demand of ourselves. Where, again, I say it all the time, standards. And I think a lot of standards have dropped because you have an influx of just more people, right? And with more people, you're going to get a different level of skill. You're going to get a different level, and I hate to use the word intelligence, but, and you know what, I'm not sure if it's so much as an intelligence, because, wrestlers, we've always kind of not been the smartest, but...
you do get hit in the head a lot.
Yeah,
so.
but it's... And I am not for, like some of the stuff that went on, because it was a little, I was never like a hazer, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like, oh, you're going to come in, so you're going to go buy everybody pizza, or we're going to have wrestlers court, and you're going to do, no, like that's not who I am. But the standards to where you had to have a vetting process. And for me, when you have more rules that are lax, or some non-existent, okay, good, bad, and different, but there's going to be a side effect, and that side effect is you're going to get some people that really don't get this and think they do, where, to open up a training school, in my opinion, you have to have some kind of pedigree. Did you do something in the business? Have you made money? Who have you learned from? And if I'm someone brand new wanting to get into wrestling, and I'm looking at wrestling schools, and I don't know who this instructor is. Okay, how can he teach me to make money, or she, if they've never made real money themselves? I was having a debate with someone, and oh yeah, well, I've done this and that and blah blah blah, so that makes me qualified to teach, and maybe. Right? If you can lock up properly, I guess. But you know what you can't teach? Getting an action figure. Yeah. How to get an action figure.
I think you're so right. And it's a big part of what I do as well, because a lot of people don't realize the importance of stuff that goes on outside of the ring, outside of just doing moves. Because like you said, I do feel like a lot of schools nowadays focus on teaching moves as opposed to money, or as opposed to moments, like you said. But let me ask you this in terms of the creating moments. A lot of the independent wrestlers, but also WWE currently, get this accusation of, instead of doing matches, you're trying to create social media clips. Because it's all for the pop, all for this one clip, doesn't matter what happens for the rest of the match or whatever it is. So where's this line between creating moments and creating hype and creating those clips and not caring for the structure?
The answer to that question is there is no line. Because when we do this correctly, if pro wrestling is done correctly, right? So let's say you can do a 450 splash, right? And I've never tried it. I'm assuming I can't do it. I can still do a moonsault, which is for the record. But if we're doing that, okay, let's put something together for the match that's going to make sense. You're going to get to do your move, right? You will 100% get to do your 450. Like, in you know, depending on how much time we have, you may get to do other moves, right? But like, and Dr. Tom would say this all the time, and I'm not going to use the word he said, but when you're trying to jam 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag, that ain't going to work. When you have a 10-minute match or a 5-minute match and you're trying to do so much because you want to show what you can do, it hurts the match. It hurts. The people don't have time to react. You can't create a moment, right? So like we go back to the 450 analogy. Okay, do your 450. Hell yeah, we'll hit it. We put something together that is going to be digestible for the fans. They are going to understand who the heel and who the babyface is. And within that time, even if they've never seen us before, right? Because the key to this is another nugget. Mm-hmm. Even if you are a world champion, whether it's WWE, anywhere, assume no one knows who you are, because that will ensure your work stays consistent. And it drives the character home, right? Like Brock Lesnar. Brock's going to walk out, right? Paul said, and here's it, right? Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Heyman. Allow me to beg your indulgence for one moment. My name is Damien Sandow, right? Say your name every time on TV, because when you are on TV or in front of an audience, same thing when you're performing, if we want to connect with the audience, let's let them know our name. It literally is like the relationship between a wrestler and an audience. It's almost like this weird, at first it's like a courting process, I would say, and at least that was with WWE, because it was like, okay, who's this new guy about? And I'm like, all right, what are they reacting to? And you're feeling each other out. But like once the relationship develops, you know, it becomes a really cool thing, because like I've disappeared for a few years and come back, and my first time in NWA, no one knew I was coming, and I came back, and I remember the response I got. I was like, oh, okay, that was nice. So and you realize it never goes away. At least it hasn't yet, right, for me. But that's truly the coolest thing when people, you know, to this day too, like airports or you're at the store or something, and they see you and they want a picture, and I remember when you did this. I remember when you know, whatever. And it's like, oh, well, I forgot, but thank you for reminding me. But I'm glad you were able to do that, right? And remember that and kind of have that moment. So the 450 will still be your Instagram clip, right? Like, all right, if you want one Instagram clip a match, that's great. But if you can get 10, get 10. But do you want 10 that are about a 6 or a 7, because it's just like and then no one's clapping? Or when you hit your 450, when someone's filming that, would you like everyone to stand up out of their seat and absolutely blow the roof off the place with noise? Because if you're gonna do a 450, right, like at least have them be excited about it. And that, guess what? You look like a bigger star now. Mm-hmm. You do a 4, oh wow, that was cool. Or, you know, you build up to this point, and then you hit it, and then people are just so happy, not only because you just did an awesome, cool move, but the heel just got his comeuppance. That is what is missing. You can do everything. Like, it's not a, you know, there was a debate, not a debate, but a group discussion within, like one of those talent meetings. Remember, you're working the cameras, not the people. And it came from someone that was kind of like lower level management, I'll say. And, you know, I didn't correct him in front of everybody, but I told the people that I care about.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah, like, no, I was like, no. I go, if you're a pro, you work both. Know where your cameras are. You know, a chin lock, yeah, you face hard cam. But you don't have to like adjust everything, then no, work it, make it believable. Understand where your camera operators are, cater to them, but let them do their job and find you, right? If there's a bunch of people here and the camera's shooting this way, right? Look, I can look at the people and the camera can catch my face, right? And that's the trick. So just try to do both and learn how to do both, because it is absolutely possible to do so, and that's what the pros do.
Yeah, and I love this. And wrestling is such a unique medium. It doesn't have a fourth wall. It's one of the few arts and or performance arts that exists in a completely four-dimensional space. Another one that I can think of, which in a completely non-offensive way, is circus. But even then,
100%.
it's a slightly different structure of the space.
Wrestling comes from the circus.
Yeah.
That's where the modern day pro wrestling industry as we know it today has its roots in the circus. So no, there's the circus element to it 100%. And at the end of the day, right, it's we joke and say carny, but that's
what we are.
I mean, look, that's what any business is, right?
Yeah.
What's the least I can give with the biggest return? Whether it's time, energy, money, resources, that's all carny, right? And then there's different levels of it, but at a degree. Now, look, there's really levels to carny, as we say. I don't mean to say like, everyone that is a business owner is a carny, but I'm talking about just in general, there's a lot of the principles of it, right? Like what's a good business decision? It's kind of like what carny. Now, carnies, their morals are a little more blurred, shall we say, or skewed. But yeah, you can have a carny way of thinking, but you don't have to act like a carny.
Right. Yeah, and the wrestling audience as well is such a specific audience, and I love the assuming that no one knows you, because I feel like a lot of people make this mistake, even people who are on the independent still. And I've seen this happen where a wrestler does their entrance and they don't make it clear from the entrance whether they're a heel or babyface, and all you see is confusion. Like you can't trust or expect people to create this impression of you from nothing. And the audience, the wrestling audience, loves being directed, loves being told what to do, unlike any other audience, I feel.
Well, that's why they pay, right? I mean, like they pay, show me something.
Yeah.
Give me something, entertain me.
Yeah, what do you want from me? How do I contribute?
The issue, I think, is there are a lot of people who did not necessarily have the most athletic childhood, right? They weren't necessarily athletes, they weren't whatever. But then they find pro wrestling and they do it to almost compensate for not being one of the cool kids in school. And it's like this whole thing of like edifying and again, I'm making very, very general observations, right? Like this absolutely does not pertain to everyone, right? I'm just saying some of the things I have seen with independent wrestling and how some of these people act. So it's like they want to be one of the cool kids and, they have dreams of going to the WWE when it's like, look, the reality is, and if anyone tells you anything different, they're an idiot. When we come through that curtain, if we are lucky, we have 3 to 5 seconds to get their attention. When you're flipping through the channels at home or scrolling through, right, whatever, 3 to 5 seconds. And I would argue that window is even shorter now in the world of social media, just in how, society is now. But
I always tell people 1 second. You have 1 second for the person to decide whether they want to continue watching you or not.
It is how we dress, how we stand. It is our entrance music, how we walk. It's everything. And we were actually discussing gear earlier, right? Where, it's not about putting as many rhinestones and having the most intricate outfit you can. It's about having the right outfit. And the right outfit will fit your character to when you come through that curtain, they know who you are, right? Like if we have people, I just want to wear, I want to wear long tights or I want to wear trunks and I'm going to put this and this on them. All right, like whatever, a symbol, like pick anything. I want to put a star on my tights, let's just say. Well, if your gimmick is you are a hobo, that ain't gonna work unless that star is from like a secondhand shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's people are not going to get it, and when you come through the curtain, they have to get it. I use people in NWA, right? Like the Kazanas. You look at them. I mean, there is no question. From the time you hear their entrance music before you even see them with that twang, and then they come through in the white and gold, and it's like, okay, well, we know exactly what we're getting with these guys. And that's what we want. That's what it is. So it's working for the audience, which on some level may not be exactly the way we pictured ourselves, but if we can make those small adjustments while staying true to ourselves, that's what will make a successful character, because you're not going to succeed unless it is part of your authentic personality. But part of your personality, right? Not a part that you would like to highlight, because we wear masks, right? We have so many, as humans, we're very complex creatures, right?
Yes.
And there's, I would also recommend this to anyone if you're interested in the, any performance art, especially pro wrestling. Familiarize yourself with Carl Jung's archetypes, because that, and you actually, educate yourself if you don't know it already, but it'll get you smarter, but it'll also help you to adapt certain things and create your character, because wrestling is very, very archetypal. Look at some of the top names throughout it, and it's just really like it speaks for itself. So that's kind of the key to it, right? Like, it'll be part of your personality. It may be a part you don't want to show. But you know what? If people are lining up to get your autograph and they're buying your merch and you're getting booked more places, then okay, the phone rings. Maybe it's NXT, maybe it's TNA, like whoever it is. That's the path I want to be on, right? Where, and I don't think we've touched upon that in this interview, and I know I do talk about them quite a bit, but I was never a fan of doing anything backstage. It was never my gig. Like, I just like to show up, hang out with my friends, go perform, then go get something to eat. But there have been 3 that really kind of forced me, for lack of a better word, to start growing up, as we say. Carson Drake and the Slime Balls, where Carson, you look at the kids, he's a shoo-in. He had long hair when I met him, and this was up at Exodus with EC3. Great promotion there. I mean, I tell you what, like the talent that Exodus has turned out and what they're doing now is phenomenal. And I remember seeing Carson. He had long hair and working on a promo with him, and you could tell he had it, right? He had something, but just didn't quite. And then in between the promos, I said something to him, and he laughed, and I was like, "What the hell was that?" I go, "Do that again." And we were off to the races. The Slime Balls. This is, I've never told this story on camera before. I don't think.
Exclusive.
Yeah, I can't. At least I can't remember if I did, but I don't think I did. But when we're at it was called Preface, which is an Exodus tryout. So it was me, EC3, and Billy Corgan, our boss, and there was about 50 people there. Promo time. I had seen probably 30 promos, and I'm just wanting to go home. These 2 come up there, and they look, could not look like less of a wrestler, both of them. And they start talking, and for about 5 seconds, you just saw it. It was there, it was clear as day, and I'm like, oh my God, these 2. And so I go to Billy, I'm like, and when I perked up, he did too. We were like, So we go talk, and I'm like, I have to talk to them and make sure they're not idiots first, because I have no idea, and I don't deal with young people. You know what I mean? Like, people, I'm not hanging out with dudes in their 20s. Right. But and they were young. They were like 21 and 23, I think. So I go talk to. I introduce myself, and I'll give you the short version. It was just, "Hi, my name is Aron. It's nice to meet you both. You look like everything I have stood against or I've stood against in this industry my entire life. If there was a creator wrestler and 100 was the best, you would both be in the negatives, individually and collectively." And I had just met them. And I'm like, that being said, you have something that is undeniable that upsets me to no end, because I actually like you guys and I don't want to even know you. And so, like, they laughed. It broke the ice. I mean, I was being obviously somewhat sarcastic, but with those 2 and with Carson, I just like, this is how it's going to be. I go, you are going to be able to ask me any question you want, because everything I tell you to do, it is 100% battle tested and proven. There is a reason for everything. But when I tell you to do something, I expect you to go do it. and if it doesn't work, I'll be the first one to own it. And so we just have this thing. I will, and they are super creative too. I'm not trying to say whatever, but what I had to do was I had to find a way to take that old school mentality where it's that rigidity, if you will, and translate it to pro wrestlers today. And the reality is not everyone can handle that. I am not a yeller and a screamer. I yelled at one of them one time, but it was for something that they didn't even do. So I felt very bad about that. But I mean, not really, but whatever. But no, I did.
Can handle it.
But no, like I have to take that old school, like the old school standards, and instill that in them, because that is the difference when you see them. Like, everyone has opinions on wrestlers, but the reality is, at NWA, nobody sells more merchandise than the Slime Balls. And also with that, we talk about independent wrestlers, right? How many actually go to the gym and are serious about it? And I said this about them, right? I mean, they looked terrible when I first met them. Oh my God. But the smaller one, Sage, he's put on like 20 pounds. He's got a weight program. He's on a diet. He's doing it, the right way. Tommy lost 60 pounds, and they train regularly, and it's part of their lives. Because I said, if you guys want to do this for a living, you have to make the gym just as much a part of your life as you do the ring. It's not about going off, because like there was a line I said, right? I go, there is a line, and then to go back to that conversation I'm having with him, I go, so that being said, what would both of you like to do with your lives? And they said, like, at the same time, because they're childhood friends, which makes it even funnier. Like, they grew up literally with each other. They said, we want to be wrestlers. I go, then I suggest you join the Olympics. I go, if you want to make, you want to do this, if you need to become a television star who wrestles. That's the difference. Indie wrestlers want to be wrestlers on TV. I only mess with television stars who wrestle. And when I train them, like with Carson and like, I would never have a wrestling school. I don't like teaching. I don't, whatever. But this is more on the job training with them. And like, we'll get in the ring sometimes.
You definitely do a lot of teaching for someone who doesn't like teaching.
Well, no, but the thing is, I'm able to do it at NWA.
Yeah.
Because usually people will, they ask me something, I give them my opinion, and then I go from there. Because I do want to help as many people, right? Mm-hmm. But with those three specifically, they are held to a different standard. And that's just the way it is. Now, everyone at NWA is held to a higher standard, but I guess they know how to, like, they can handle it, really. Because I am brutally honest with them. When they do good, I will be the first one singing their praises, and I mean that. But when they mess up, and it's not a matter of, getting mad and yelling. No, it's a matter of, hey, this cannot happen again. This is why. And we explain, like, whether you're feeding a baby face, right? Like, there's so many things. And to their credit, they don't make the same mistakes twice. They get out there, they do it. And it's not just the three of them. Like, those three are the ones they kind of brought me in and, made me start doing this. And I have no idea why. It was just like this, all right, I have to help these three. But, I've been able to work with the Kazanas, and I tell you, the Kazana family, I could not say nicer things about. I am just so thrilled with what they're doing. AJ Kazana, oh my God, in the last 6 months, AJ Kazana and NWA, he has just stepped his game up to where, like, I didn't ever think he would be doing it at this level. And again, he's still learning. He's hungry. KC, so young. That's his brother. Joe is perfect. All Joe Kazana needs to do is wear that white suit, walk out there, and everything takes care of itself. And like I said this to him, I was like, you don't have to do anything except that.
Immediately Colonel Sanders chants
No,
every time.
People call him Colonel Sanders. They call him Boss Hog, and then he gets upset and he starts turning purple when he's yelling. I mean, it's just, but it's great. And, it's cool because Joe had been in the business his whole life. His grandfather was the original NWA promoter in Tennessee, John Kazana, the original one for TV. And at Joe's house, he has the old belts and everything. And So he's been in the business his whole life, and he's like, I've never had this. Like this is different. I go, yes, because Joe, like this is the difference between being a star and being a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we need to be television stars who wrestle. Because if I'm at a tryout, now there may be some people out there, like, in the indie scene, like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He wrestled the Invisible Man. And like, yeah, I did, all over the world. And, that will speak for itself, right?
Yeah.
But on a skill level, right? Oh, I want to wrestle and show the world I'm the best wrestler. Great. Not going to deny that, right? Like everyone, hey, we live in a free country, thank God. It's a beautiful country. How are you going to get the attention of a talent scout when let's say you have a tryout, right, with WWE, and I'm not sure who does the scout. I know TJ and Natty do, which are they're another first-class human beings. I tell you, like they don't get any better than TJ and Natty. But Regal, does he do some scouting too? He was another one, like his lordship, as I call him, but William Regal, Steven Regal. Sandow would not have been what it was had it not been for him, and he was just so instrumental in my development and even just my transition to the main roster.
Did he come up with a character, or did...
No, he helped me cultivate it.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did he help me cultivate it, he helped me really kind of make the transition when you're in the WWE locker room really for the first time as a character and you're kind of moving up the card. Regal always had my back.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Like that's something that I do. Man, I really can't think of anyone that I have more respect for than him. And you know what? He's just a good human too. So yeah, like that. I'm sorry to go on a diatribe, but I think the world of him. So let's say, okay, so his lordship, Natty, and TJ are sitting down, and there's 20, 50, whatever, right? There's a lot of people there that are going to go and have matches and showcase what they can do. I want to show the world I'm the best wrestler there is. Well, the best wrestlers in the world are already employed. You can be really good at this. How are you going to grab their attention? You need to make everything from the lockup to how you snatch a headlock to how you move to how you hit someone. That has to be so flawless and believable that that's not even a question, right? Like when you have a million things to do, but then when it comes time to go in the ring and get in the ring, even if you're, like have other stuff to do in a company, right? Some people are photographers, some people whatever, and they also wrestle on the show. But if you got to do something in the ring, you have to do it like it's WrestleMania, like the main event of WrestleMania all the time. Crisp, clean, no BS, and it looks believable. While you're doing that, you have to also entertain the audience. So you got to live in two worlds, and that takes some practice, right? You have to learn the actual mechanics of this, and then some people just have it immediately, right? How to do it, but then there's also when you marry the two, that's the recipe for a star, and you have to learn how to control that. Like you have to be thinking for, okay, the other person, where are we at in the match psychology-wise? Where are we at time-wise? What's the audience doing? How am I going to do? Your brain has to process so much, which is why, like, when people say, "Oh, you did good on Gutfeld the first time," it's like, no, like, there is no greater preparation for anything. And I've done like, working on television shows and some movies that I've done. Like, that's nothing. Like, you want pressure? Okay. You have to not only have a wrestling match that has to go 6 minutes exactly, because by the way, Coca-Cola, it's like $500,000 for 30 seconds of advertising, or probably more than that now, or $1 million, whatever it is, right? So there are sponsors that hang in the balance. You got to go to a commercial break. Okay. Top of that, you have to make everything look absolutely believable and real, right? From your selling to your offense to all of that. On top of that, you have to make all your, I'd say, like your offense look real, right? On top of that, you have to have psychology. So the match has to make sense so people are interested in it. On top of that, they have to get your personality. On top of that, you're not only being broadcast through millions and millions, maybe a billion homes, right? That at least have access to it, that will see it. But you're in a room full of 10,000 people and you're in your underpants. That is
Quite
the
a
most high
predicament.
pressure, like, no, for an entertainer, right? Like when you kind of list those, there is no higher pressure situation you will be in.
Yeah.
Now, you're in that situation, top rope breaks, someone gets hurt. A fan jumps in the ring. Anything can happen. You got to be able to adjust to it. That's what a pro is, right? That's what a pro is. And, people they sometimes act like they're pros. And by the way, I have met so many wonderful, kind, genuine people that are independent wrestlers today. And so I don't want to make this about the negative.
No, for sure.
Because there is so much good talent out there, and there are some really good people out there. But there's also the ones that think that they're good, and it's like to hear them talk, like you look at them and I'm like, you know what, I'm not even going to respond to that, like whatever, because it is so far from what this truly is at the highest level, or at any level it should be. But conceptually, they have they're doing it to gratify themselves. Mm-hmm. When someone comes through a curtain on the Independence Week, I'll go back to your analogy. You come through the curtain and you have your friend filming because you want that Instagram reel of you coming through and there's lights everywhere and there's music and someone's announcing you. Half the people don't care. But in your mind, you're getting your Instagram reel. No. When I come through the curtain, by the time my rear end is in that ring, that whole room needs to be booing me. Mm. Let the camera catch it. Let the camera catch it. I'm going to do me. Let the camera do its job. That's what we should be doing, because the audience, they need to care about the person more than the move, right? You do a move and some people, like the audience will pop for it. But then 2 seconds later, they're just waiting for the next big move. Any move that we can do, there is a good chance that somewhere in the world, someone can do it better. Probably a lot of people, right? What makes us different? And that's what we really have to think about. We have to have everything. We have to have psychology, believability, look, aesthetics. Gear is important. Carson slime balls, they do not get gear unless they let me know, because I do that to teach them how important it is. And the Kazanas, oh my God, when we put them in white, they're, can we get just a little bit of accent? No. What about red? No. You can maybe get some red rhinestones, but that's it. No, because you guys, when you come through the curtain, it is you are a walking billboard for yourselves, and that's who we all have to be. And again, Brock Lesnar, there's no frills with him. But when Brock comes, the reason Brock can do that is because he's Brock Lesnar. All he has to do is walk out, right? The music is awesome, Paul's awesome, but he has a whole career behind him of being the beast incarnate. That's all, that's all you need to do. Find what makes you uniquely you and exploit it. Because I tell everyone, if you sign up to do this, and if you say, I want to be a pro wrestler, there is something innately wrong with you, right? Like at some point in your life, the wires have been crossed or not plugged in or whatever, and your personality, we are seeking something, right? It's validation, attention, money, whatever it is. But I'm going to learn. I mean, look, there's jiu-jitsu schools everywhere. There's boxing classes. No, I'm going to learn how to fake fight. No, it's an art. And whatever allows us to reach that point in our brain and say, okay, I'm going to actually try this. That is what we need to tap into, because that is ultimately the first step in understanding who we are as performers, right? As people, we can be complex and stuff, and that there's varying degrees of that. But as a performer in the wrestling business, we want to exploit the traits that they fuel us. They fuel us to do this. And then that's the thing where, again, slime balls just happened to hit that. The first time I saw them, you saw who they were, right? Like is that understandable? Like,
Yeah,
did I go too
yeah,
deep
for
on that? But like, no, you really saw who they were for a brief second or two. But no, their gear. I have still not let them get new gear. I mean, they'll probably get some soon, but I go, you guys don't understand. The crappier your gear looks, the more
sense it makes.
authentic you look.
Yeah.
No, because it's authentic, it's real, and no, like they have matured so much. That the three of them, Carson included, right? Like to see them mature and like who they're turning into now as young adults, it's been rewarding. And I never was into stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I still don't like people. You know, I'm
Just curious, I don't like people.
but no, like that for some reason, like that has been rewarding. You know, I've kind of adapted that now, and I've broadened my spectrum, right, where I'm helping people and seeing them kind of cultivate. And you know, the only thing that is super annoying is that when someone asks you for advice and you tell them, and it's not, oh, maybe you should do this or that. No, you need to do this this way. And like, I could not be more thorough or clear. And then they just don't do it. And then a month or two later, they ask you for advice, and I just won't give it to them. I'm like, no. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Remember when I said this? Yeah, well, I just didn't think. I go, okay. Well, I don't think talking to you then is a good decision for me. And I make it that simple. And I mean, that's, hey, the great thing about NWA is it is a different kind of company in the sense of people with personality quirks, shall we say. We all coexist, and there is this harmony there that in the midst of, at times, chaos, like any wrestling company, right? It'll be chaotic at times. It'll have shows that run smoother, but like people exist as their authentic selves. And really, I think it's starting to come through now on camera where like people's personalities, they're getting, you know, Daisy Kill. He's somebody, you know, his character has really started to develop now, and that's been cool. And I mean, Daisy's a grown man, but like, you know, I feel weird sometimes people asking me for advice because I'll never say my age, but you know, yeah, like I'm like, what? You're asking me to whatever, but I'll give it, and then I have the expectation of this person may adapt some of it, but they're not going to do exactly. And then when someone does it and they adapt it and they come to me like, oh my God, did you see that? Like, I can't believe that I did this thing and they reacted this way. Yeah, actually, I can believe that. But that's the light bulb, right? That metaphoric light bulb that starts to go off. When you see that happening for people, that is really rewarding because what you've done is you have opened the door to a potentially different life for these people. Because when you view the business that way, you're going to work differently. And we talk about the line where there's making money and I don't want to say effing off, but you get what I'm saying. But that's what it is. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. This is what making money is. When we say, oh, are you doing this for money or to just satisfy your own ego? Like the operative word in the wrestling business is business. And look, there are people that love this, and you have to have passion. If you do not have the passion, that's a prerequisite, right? You have to have all that stuff. But at the same time, if you really want to be a player at this, you got to approach it like a business person, plain and simple. Because every now and then, you know, some water will get through the cracks, as we say, right? Like someone that doesn't or whatever kind of gets in and they get an opportunity, but they are short-lived. Yeah. And I've seen it happen a lot. So to make money and last, yes, passion, drive, all that stuff, but a business mentality.
Yeah, and you're so right that when people ask you for advice, it's not about the age. It's about the experience and it's about the accolades. Because like you said, why would you want to learn something from someone who hasn't achieved anything? But you've been in WWE, you have an action figure.
Yeah, I just have this thing with aging. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be old. So I just, you know, as long as I can look the same way for another 20 years, I'll be fine. Maybe 25.
30. I'm sure you will.
Let's go for 30. Yeah.
No, and with your WWE run, it was a showcase of exactly what you're saying, the way that you control the audience, not control, but lead them where you want them to be led. And WWE being the biggest scale that it can be, your character was insanely over. And not just in America either, it just transcended the borders.
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah, I remember like France.
Yeah.
There's a picture I'll send you. I don't know if we can dub this in there,
sure.
but it was right after I had won Money in the Bank. And I had been to Paris twice, I believe. So let's rewind a second. I am now the intellectual savior of the masses. I'm running around the United States and Canada, proclaiming my manifesto. Go to France. We do a European tour. It was like, I forget, we might have started off in Germany, I don't know, but wherever. It wasn't the UK, it was Germany, or somewhere like that. I get booed, good. Another country, I get booed, we go to France. I walked out, and I literally thought, I was like, did they play the wrong music? I don't think so. Because the ovation I got, and I'm going, what? Huh? And like I always learn a couple words in whatever country I'm in their native language and say it, right? So I went and said something, and it was an insult, and they cheered even louder. I was like, what? So do the match. I get to the back, and I was being interviewed by a young lady, similar to this, right? But it was for a French news thing or show or whatever. Mm-hmm. And did the interview, and I asked her, I went, let me ask, why did they cheer me? And she goes, oh, Ellen, you say what we all think Americans are like. We goes, oh, okay. So then Paris, Nice, Marseille, same thing. They would always cheer me. Win Money in the Bank, and I remember I had to fly to Paris for a day to do an autograph signing, and then fly back to North Carolina to do TV, and then fly to England for the European tour. I'm like, you couldn't have just left me over there. I literally slid in, and I think I hit Kane with a chair or something like that. And that was all it was. But we were furthering a storyline for the pay-per-view, so it was like a run-in at the end of the match. But yeah, it was just crazy. And like when I did this autograph signing, they said like 3 times the people they were expecting showed up. Oh my God. And it was like this one thing that's where I was like, oh, okay, this is different. But it was cool, and it was like what I was doing was working on some level, right? And I've always had kind of this special little soft spot in my heart for France. I mean, my family's from there originally. I'm going back, a few generations, but yeah.
Yeah. And with your WWE run, would you say that's a closed chapter for you, or do you want to come back? Are you open to coming back?
I don't have a desire to. There's just so many other things that I kind of have on the horizon right now where I finally kind of, I've reconciled, and that's another thing NWA has been great with me. When I left WWE, I had a very bitter taste for the wrestling industry, and in TNA that was good. That was a lot of fun in TNA, and then they switched management, and then management got a little, I just wasn't really digging the way the company was going, so I just left and was out in LA doing my thing, and Billy called me to come back. I was actually doing an episode of Magnum PI. I was in Waikiki on the beach. I had a couple days off. It was Labor Day weekend. And so for the union, which I wasn't used to because, they have the Screen Actors Guild. So I was a union member there. So, we're Labor Day weekend. We get 4 days off. So I'm in my glory. I was in Hawaii for like 3 weeks. And Billy tells me about NWA. Well, I don't know. He goes, no, you got a plane ticket. Come on. And then I went to Georgia. Been with him ever since. And it's truly helped me reconcile some internal stuff. You know what I mean? Which is, it's been good. It's been, I don't despise the industry anymore. You know what I mean? I have a different perspective now. Look, if WWE called, like, it's not something I really think about. Right. Look, if they called, all right, I would of course listen. I may say yes, I may say no, right? There's so many factors that go into that. But I would have said no a year and a half ago, right? Like I totally would have said no. now it's like, oh, you never know, right? You never know. But I'm certainly not like having any aspirations. I'm far too concerned with trying to do the best I can where I'm at.
And you've been incredible in WWE on screen
thank
and
you.
off screen. You've
Thank
been
you.
such an incredible asset to the company from what I know, but I'm sure it's even
Thank
more
you.
than I know. And I think it's just so great that you're trying to pass all this knowledge on
To the right people.
and to the right people, to people who deserve it. So to wrap this up, let me do some rapid fire stuff. Throw this at you. What's one moment in your career that you would like to relive again?
Oh my God! How could this be? Oh, whoa! Oh, for the first time, I'm at a loss for words. Thank you.
Oh my God.
There have been so many like just crazy things that have happened. And I say crazy in the crazy sense. I say crazy as in crazy good. When Miz and I won the tag titles, we were St. Louis, I believe it was, Survivor Series, I think. We had won. He naturally grabbed both belts because like we were thinking the exact same thing. We wouldn't talk about the Mizdow stuff. Like we wouldn't sit back and, oh, if you do this, I'll do it. No, it was like, what's up, dude? Yep. Ready to go to work? Yep. And then but it was just awesome. Like working with him, it was such a crazy cool experience because Miz and I are friends. I mean, we actually saw each other recently a few months ago. I mean, there was just nothing but love there. But we didn't necessarily like drive together and like hang out all the time. But man, when it came to doing business, our timing, like, it was just, it was there, and like we know that, and it was just cool. And so yeah, like that was cool winning that because he gets the belts and he did this, they boo, and then I do it, they cheer, and then we looked at each other. I remember this. We're like, okay, so he starts doing it more. Yep, and then we went to both sides, and it was just I get goosebumps right now, but like it was just phenomenal. You know, like that experience to be like, this is just the easiest thing. Like this is what I trained for, just going like this. But it was cool. But no, there have been so many moments, Xenia. But if I had to kind of surmise, it's that moment where you are behind that curtain, and this is what I'm talking about. This is what a star is. And then I'm sorry, I felt like I was an egomaniac. I shouldn't say that, a star, but like in wrestling. And if there's anyone out there, you know, that would like to debate this, I don't know if we're going to have a comment section below. I have no idea what this is, but they're more than welcome to comment. But like the difference between a star, like when you're behind that curtain and they hit your music, and before you even go through that curtain, you just hear a building full of people rumbling, like booing. You know what I mean? Or I mean, it's cool to be cheered, but it's way more fun to be booed. Yeah. Like I used to live for that, like because you're just kicking it there, and then they hit Hallelujah, and you hear that, and like they ain't even seen me yet, and then you just come out, and everything is just locked in, and you're good. Yeah. So that's what a star, and that's where, look, had I been able to do 450s and plancha, right? Yeah, like great, but would it have mattered? You know what I mean? Truly. So that's it. Now that was probably the longest-winded rapid-fire question you have ever gotten. So now we'll do rapid-fire. That was like the hardest question.
We have two more.
Oh my God! Well, you can add a third one. You know, in fact, our cameraman can even add a couple if you'd like. You know what? We'll do this. All right, here we go.
If you could meet your 16-year-old self when you just started wrestling, you could tell him one thing. What would it be?
Don't do it.
No. No way.
Stay grounded.
Okay.
Stay grounded.
Yeah.
Stay grounded.
3 times.
Yeah.
What's the one lesson that every wrestler who's starting or every wrestler who's in the business right now should learn?
Not about the people inside the ring. It's about the people outside the ring.
Absolutely. Now,
we're short. Would you have any other questions?
We kind of need to wrap up.
All right. Any questions from our camera crew, our lovely camera crew? Will break this third wall down. Anyone?
Because it is about the audience outside.
Exactly.
And not inside.
Exactly.
Amazing. So
if you have questions, leave them below. Maybe I'll answer them.
Leave them below. So,
and if I don't, I apologize. That means I'm busy.
Because busy with important things, with passing on your knowledge to the new generation of wrestlers. And on this wonderful note, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
This has been amazing, and we can't wait to see where the journey takes you next.
It was so fun. Thank you.